There is a lie told to children across 1,000,000 worlds. It is whispered in the ruins of hive cities, in the prayers of desperate mothers, in the fevered dreams of boys who stare up at cathedral ceilings and imagine themselves as gods. The lie is beautiful, the lie is simple, the lie is this, that you can become more than human. In the grim darkness of the far future, where humanity clings to existence across a galaxy that hungers to devour it, there exists no greater honor than to be chosen, to be selected from among billions, to be taken from your world of ash and misery, and brought before the chaplains of the Adeptus Astartes, to be told that you, among all the wretched masses, are worthy of transformation. But here is what they do not tell you. Here is what the propaganda servitors omit from their endless liturgies of glory. For every space marine that strides through the fires of war, a living demigod wrapped in ceramite and faith, there are hundreds who did not survive the process, hundreds who were chosen, who endured the trials, who believed with every fiber of their being that they would ascend, only to discover that ascension demands a price that cannot be paid. That the process of becoming superhuman requires you to first stop being human at all. And when you fail, when your body rejects the holy gene seed, when your organs burst from the inside, when your bones crack and refuse to fuse with the Emperor's blessing, when you fail, the Imperium does not simply let you die. This is the story of those failures, the aspirants who were not strong enough, the initiates whose flesh proved unworthy, the recruits who learned that there are fates far worse than death, and that the chapter does not waste resources, even on those who break beneath the weight of transformation. This is the story of what happens when the Emperor's greatest warriors discover you are not among them. To understand their fate, you must first understand what it means to be chosen. The Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, are humanity's angels of death. Created by the God Emperor himself during the golden age of the Great Crusade, they are living weapons forged from genecraft, psycho-indoctrination, and surgical augmentation so profound it rewrites the very essence of what a human being is. They are faster, stronger, more resilient than any mortal could hope to be. They can spit acid that melts through steel. Their blood clots instantly. Their bones are harder than ceramite. They can live for centuries without aging, fight for days without sleep, and survive wounds that would liquefy an ordinary man. But they do not simply become this way. Every chapter of Space Marines maintains its own recruitment practices drawn from the cultures and trials of their homeworlds. Some recruit from death worlds, where only the strongest children survive to adolescence. Others take from hive gangs, from feral tribes, from the survivors of planetary wars. The methods differ, but the principle remains constant. Only the best are even considered. Only those who have already proven themselves exceptional among mortals are granted the privilege of beginning the trials. And yet, being exceptional is not enough. The process of creating a Space Marine involves the implantation of 19 gene seed organs, sacred biological modifications derived from the Primarchs themselves, the Emperor's gene sons, who were scattered across the galaxy 10 millennia ago. These organs are implanted in stages across years of grueling surgery, hypno-conditioning, and physical training that would shatter the minds of lesser beings. The first organ is the secondary heart, the second, the os modula, which restructures the skeleton into something denser, larger, more resilient. Then the biscopea, granting superhuman muscle growth, the hemastamen, altering blood chemistry, the Laraman's organ, enabling instant clotting, the catalepsian node, removing the need for sleep, the preomnor, allowing the consumption of otherwise toxic substances, the omophagia, granting the ability to absorb memories through consuming flesh. On and on the modifications go, each one more invasive than the last, each one pushing the aspirant's body closer to the edge of what biology can endure. The melanochrome alters skin pigmentation to filter radiation. The oolitic kidney purifies blood of toxins. The neuroglottis enhances taste to the point of chemical analysis. The mucranoid secretes a waxy film that protects against vacuum and fire. The Becher's gland produces corrosive saliva. The progenoid glands store the precious gene seed that will one day be harvested to create new space marines. Finally, the black carapace, a web of neural interface ports implanted beneath the skin, allowing the wearer to bond with power armor as if it were their own flesh. This is the promise. This is the dream. This is what every aspirant believes they will become. But the body is not clay. It cannot simply be molded. The gene seed is a living thing engineered by the Emperor's own hand, and it demands compatibility. It demands a genetic structure capable of accepting its blessing. It demands youth, for the older the subject, the more likely rejection becomes. It demands purity, for any mutation, any flaw in the aspirant's DNA can cause catastrophic failure. And even when all these conditions are met, even when the aspirant is young and pure and strong beyond measure, sometimes the body simply says no. The exact failure rate varies by chapter. Some, like the ultramarines, with their pure and stable gene seed, see perhaps 60% of aspirants survive to become full battle brothers. Others, like the blood angels cursed by the genetic flaws of their primarch sanguineus, lose far more. The space wolves, with their unstable canis helix, see entire batches of recruits devolve into mindless beasts called wolfen. But across all chapters, across all homeworlds, the truth remains. Most who are chosen do not survive, and those who fail, they discover that the chapter has use for them still. His name was Cale, or perhaps it was Marcus, or Theron, or any of 1,000 names given to boys torn from the ash wastes of some forgotten world and brought to the fortress monastery to be remade. Names do not matter here. Identity does not matter. What matters is only this, that you endure. The first months are not surgery. They are testing. You wake before dawn, though there is no dawn here, deep within the mountain fortress where the chapter makes its home. You wake in a cell of bare stone, sleeping on a pallet harder than the ground outside. And you are given exactly 90 seconds to dress in your training robes before the door unseals. If you are late, you are beaten. If you complain, you are beaten. If you show weakness, you are beaten until you stop showing weakness or until you stop moving entirely. You run miles upon miles through corridors carved from living rock, up stairs that seem to climb forever, through courtyards open to the poisonous atmosphere of the world beyond. You run until your lungs burn and your legs tremble, and blood runs from your nose and ears from the altitude. You run beside boys your own age, some of them friends from your village, some of them rivals you fought in the trials that earned you selection. You run, and some of them fall. Some of them collapse and do not rise. The chaplains do not stop to help them, neither do you. After the morning run comes the morning liturgy. You kneel in the chapel for 2 hours, while a chaplain in black armor recites the Imperial Creed, the oaths of the chapter, the deeds of the Primarch. You kneel on stone designed to bruise, your back straight, your head bowed, and you repeat the words they give you. You memorize them. You let them sink into your mind until they replace whatever childish thoughts you brought with you from your former life. I am nothing. The chapter is all. The emperor is all. I am meat and bone waiting to be forged. I am unworthy, but I will become worthy. I will ascend or I will die, and either way, I will serve. After the liturgy comes training, combat training. You learn to kill with blade and bolter, with your bare hands, with improvised weapons made from broken stone and scavenged metal. You learn the 12 basic forms of close combat, the 17 meditation stances for controlling pain, the 38 emergency medical procedures that might keep a brother alive long enough to reach an apothecary. You fight each other, full contact, no restraint. Broken bones are expected. Permanent injury is acceptable. Death is rare, but not unheard of. You fight and you learn which of your fellow aspirants are truly strong. You learn who will become a space marine. You learn who will die. And slowly, terribly, you begin to suspect which category you belong to, because there are signs, subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. The apothecaries watch you. They watch all of you, with eyes augmented by centuries of genetic experience, looking for the markers of compatibility. They measure bone density, muscle composition, neurological response time. They take samples of your blood and tissue and examine them under machines you do not understand. They compare your genetic code against the sacred gene seed, looking for the resonances that indicate acceptance. And sometimes they mark you. A small notation in your file, a glance exchanged between chaplains when you pass, a shift in how the sergeants address you, less harsh perhaps or more distant, as if they have already written you off as lost. You see it happen to others first. There was a boy named Gregor. He was stronger than you, faster than you, better in every measurable way. He won every combat trial. He memorized the liturgies perfectly. He never complained, never faltered, never showed the slightest weakness. And then one morning, after a routine blood test, the apothecaries took him away. He screamed. You remember that. You remember how he screamed, and how none of the other aspirants looked at each other, and how the chaplains did not react at all, as if this was the most natural thing in the world. Gregor came back 3 days later. He was different. His eyes were still his own, but something in them had changed. Something had been taken out, or something had been put in. And when he looked at you, there was no recognition there, no humanity, just a dull, animal obedience. He no longer trained with you. He was sent to work in the lower levels of the fortress monastery, performing tasks you were not told about. Maintenance, perhaps, or worse. You never spoke to him again, and you understood this could happen to you. The first surgeries begin in the 3rd month. They come for you at night. The door to your cell unseals, and a chaplain stands there, his skull-faced helmet reflecting the dim glow of the corridor lumens. He does not speak. He simply gestures, and you follow. You are brought to the apothecarian, the medical sanctum of the chapter, a place of steel tables and whirring surgical servitors and the smell of disinfectant mixed with blood. You are told to strip. You are strapped to a table designed for bodies larger than yours, restraints biting into your wrists and ankles and throat. An apothecary looms over you, his face hidden behind a rebreather, his augmented eyes clicking and whirring as they focus on your chest. He does not explain what he is about to do. There is no anesthetic. Pain is part of the process. Pain teaches you to endure. Pain separates the worthy from the weak. The first organ they implant is the secondary heart. A second heart, grown in a vat from the gene seed of your chapter's Primarch, implanted in your thoracic cavity beside your original. The surgery takes hours. You feel every incision, every retractor spreading your ribs apart, every suture sealing your flesh. You scream until your voice breaks. You thrash against the restraints until your wrists bleed. You beg for them to stop. They do not stop. And when it is over, when they finally release you and drag you back to your cell, you lie there in the dark, feeling the new organ beating inside you. A second pulse, slightly out of sync with your original, a foreign thing alive inside your body, and you do not know if it is a blessing or a parasite. For some, the body accepts it. The secondary heart begins to function in tandem with the original, providing increased blood flow, greater stamina, redundancy in case of injury. For others, you see them in the apothecarian when you are brought back for the second surgery and the third, the ones whose bodies rejected the organ, the ones whose immune systems attacked the gene seed as a foreign invader, the ones whose hearts ruptured from the strain of accepting something their biology could not comprehend. They lie on tables, their chests opened, apothecaries working frantically to remove the failed organ before sepsis sets in. Some survive the removal, some do not. And those who survive are taken away. You do not know where, you are not told, but you hear things. Whispers among the aspirants late at night when the chaplains are not watching. Rumors of the sub-levels, of the places where failed aspirants are sent to serve the chapter in other ways. As servitors, their brains scooped out and replaced with mechanical cogitators, their bodies augmented with industrial tools and weapons turned into mindless slaves for the chapter's needs. As chapter serfs, if they are lucky, still human, still conscious, but forever marked as not good enough, serving the space marines they failed to become, or as worse things, experimental subjects for the apothecaries, living repositories for failed gene seed, their bodies kept alive in suspension tanks while the librarians study what went wrong. Sources of raw biological material, harvested piece by piece as needed. You tell yourself you are different. You tell yourself your body is accepting the modifications. You feel the secondary heart growing stronger. Feel your stamina increasing. Feel yourself becoming more. You train harder. You pray harder. You memorize every liturgy, perform every trial perfectly, push yourself beyond every limit. But late at night, alone in your cell, you feel it. A pain in your chest, a wrongness, a sense that something inside you is not working the way it should. Your secondary heart beats irregularly. You cough and there is blood in your spit. Your temperature rises, then falls, then rises again. You do not report this to the apothecaries. To report weakness is to invite examination. To invite examination is to invite judgment. To invite judgment is to invite failure. So you hide it. You push through the pain. You pretend everything is fine. The second surgery comes a month later. The osmodula, the organ that will restructure your skeleton, making your bones denser, thicker, stronger. The organ that will make you grow, not just taller, but broader, heavier, more massive in every dimension. They strap you to the table again. They cut into you again. They implant the organ deep in your bone marrow, where it will release hormones that reshape your entire skeletal structure. And this time, you feel it immediately. Your bones hurt. Not the sharp pain of a break, but a deep, grinding ache that radiates from your marrow outward, as if your skeleton is trying to tear itself apart from the inside. You feel your body temperature spike. You feel your muscles cramping around bones that are growing too fast. You feel your joints grinding, ligaments stretching, tendons pulling so tight you think they might snap. You scream. You cannot help it. And in the apothecarian, surrounded by other aspirants going through the same agony, you hear others screaming too. This is when the failures become obvious. The boy strapped to the table next to you, his name is Jace, or was Jace before names stopped mattering, begins to convulse. His bones are growing too fast. You can hear them cracking, splintering, breaking through his skin. Blood sprays across the sterile floor. The apothecaries rush to him, their instruments whirring, but there is nothing they can do. His skeleton has become a cage of broken shards, tearing him apart from the inside. He dies screaming. They do not remove his body immediately. They leave it there, on the table next to you, a reminder of what failure looks like, a warning. Others do not die. They simply change. You see an aspirant across the room, a boy you trained with, a boy who was your friend in the brief moments when friendship was permitted. His bones are growing, but not uniformly. His spine curves, his ribs expand asymmetrically. His skull elongates, warping his face into something that is no longer quite human. The apothecaries watch this with clinical interest. They take notes, they measure the deformities. They do not intervene. And when the surgery is complete, when the failed aspirant is dragged off the table, still alive but ruined, you understand? He will never be a space marine, but he will still serve the chapter, as a grotesque, as an experiment, as something. You survive your second surgery, barely. Your bones grow, your body stretches, you become taller, broader, your frame beginning to resemble the superhuman proportions of a space marine. But the pain does not stop. It never stops. It becomes a constant companion, a background radiation of suffering that you learn to ignore, because the alternative is to acknowledge it, and to acknowledge it is to admit weakness, and weakness is death. The third surgery, the fourth, the fifth, the biscopeia, growing your muscles to inhuman density, the hymastomen altering your blood, the Laraman's organ teaching your body to clot wounds instantly. Each one is agony. Each one brings you closer to ascension or to failure. You watch your fellow aspirants drop away, one by one. Some die on the table. Some survive but are judged incompatible, taken away to fates you do not speak about. The dormitory that once held 50 boys now holds 20, then 10, then 5. You are still among them, still alive, still changing, but you know, deep down in the part of yourself you hide from the chaplains and the apothecaries, and even from your own conscious thoughts, you know, something is wrong. Your secondary heart beats erratically. Your bones ache constantly. Your muscles grow, but not evenly. There are lumps beneath your skin, asymmetries that should not be there. You have headaches that blind you. You have fevers that make you hallucinate. You taste blood in your mouth, even when you have not been injured. You are failing, and the chapter knows it too. In the darkness of a cell, an aspirant lies in anguish, their body racked with pain and neural corruption from failed augmentation. 3 months of surgeries have left them broken, haunted by fractured dreams and the invasive hum of the catalepsian node. The aspirant's fractured consciousness cycles through recurring nightmares, visions of the Emperor's radiance, memories of standing among space marine brothers in glory, and the horror of surgical extraction chambers where mechanical servitors strip flesh from bone with precision. The chaplain enters the cell in absolute silence. Without words, through gesture alone, the truth becomes crystalline. This is the judgment. The aspirant must stand and follow, despite their body's rebellion and constant pain, through corridors of the fortress monastery they've never traversed. The aspirant follows the silent chaplain through a labyrinth of corridors. From familiar chambers into unrecognized depths, the sound of prayers and training fades, replaced by mechanical humming that resembles breathing. The air grows colder, stone becomes raw rock. The fortress monastery transforms into something ancient and inhuman. A circular chamber carved from black stone. Flickering torches cast more shadow than light. At the center, a raised dais holds the Master of Sanctity in full armor, skull-faced helmet gleaming. Around the chamber stand other figures, apothecaries in white, tech marines in red with mechanical limbs, and dozens of other failed aspirants with hollow, defeated eyes. All of them have failed. The Master of Sanctity's voice rumbles like distant thunder. He speaks of selection from millions, of sacrifices endured, of trials survived. But then, the devastating truth. The gene seed is rejecting the aspirant's body. Genetic incompatibility, organ failure. Death is certain if the process continues. The physical agony becomes secondary to the spiritual shattering of learning they were not strong enough. The chaplain speaks the unspeakable. The gene seed is sacred, powerful, demanding. Not every human body can withstand its blessing. This is not a failing of character or faith, but biology. The aspirant will die on the surgical table. The gene seed must be extracted, purified, and preserved for a worthier candidate. The horror crashes over the aspirant like ice water. The chaplain offers 3 paths. 1. Serve as a serf, maintaining the fortress monastery, living out a natural lifespan in service. 2. Serve as a mindless servitor, brain-wiped, body augmented with mechanical parts, functional until biological decay. 3. The Emperor's peace, a bolt round to the head, quick and clean and final. All 3 are different flavors of the same defeat. The aspirant is dragged to their feet by servitors. The failed aspirants are led away in different directions, some weeping, some silent, one screaming and thrashing, begging for another chance. The chaplain does not even look at the screaming aspirant. They are brought to a new cell, smaller, colder, metal walls slick with condensation. A drain in the floor stains with rust or blood. The door seals with a hiss, sealed in darkness and cold metal. No blanket, only a pallet. The walls are bare metal, slick with condensation. The drain in the floor is stained. The door hisses shut with pneumatic finality. The aspirant sits in absolute solitude and begins to process the reality of their failure, that they were not chosen, not worthy, not good enough. The weight of everything crashes down. The aspirant's voice breaks the silence. I was chosen. I was worthy. The Emperor selected me. I was supposed to become a space marine. I was supposed to be a hero. But the words die, because it does not matter what they were supposed to be, only what they are, a failure, a broken thing, a mistake that the chapter will correct. The aspirant cries in absolute darkness, Emperor, please. I served you. I tried. I gave everything. Please do not let this be the end. Please. But the Emperor does not answer. He never does. The final frame shows the aspirant alone in their cell, waiting for dawn and the extraction chambers, surrounded by absolute darkness and the hum of machinery indifferent to human suffering. Artificial dawn breaks in the depths of the fortress monastery as harsh lumens flicker to life in the cell. The aspirant has not slept in days. They are barely conscious. The door opens and apothecaries enter with servitors. No words are spoken, only gestures. The servitors seize the aspirant by the arms with crushing force, hauling them from the ground despite their desperate resistance. The extraction chamber is nothing like the apothecarian. It is colder, more sterile. The walls are polished white, reflecting fragmented images back at the aspirant. They barely recognize themselves. Their body has been distorted by incomplete modifications. Too tall, too broad, proportions wrong. Skin mottled with bruises and rashes where the immune system attacks itself. Lumps of misshapen organs beneath the skin. They look like a space marine melted and poured into the wrong mold. They strap the aspirant to the extraction table. It is similar to the implantation table from months ago, but this one feels different, more final, more ominous. Restraints bite into wrists, ankles, throat. The aspirant can barely breathe. An apothecary looms over them, face hidden behind a rebreather and augmented optics. His eyes are cold, analytical, devoid of empathy. He is not here to save, he's here to salvage. The extraction begins. The pain is immediate and absolute, not the sharp pain of a cut, but something deeper, fundamental. The apothecary cuts into the aspirant's chest. They feel the scalpel parting skin, muscle, sternum. Retractors spread the ribs open, exposing the cavity within. Cold air on internal organs, fundamentally wrong. The aspirant screams until their throat is raw, until they taste blood, until the sound becomes something inhuman and animal. The apothecaries reach inside the aspirant's chest with cold metallic instruments. They locate the secondary heart and begin disconnecting it. Arteries severed, veins clamped, nerve endings cauterized. Then with a wet, tearing sound, they pull it out. The aspirant's vision goes white. The body convulses. They are certain they are dying. The remaining heart beats faster, harder, desperately compensating. But they survive. The apothecaries move to the skeleton. They inject a compound that makes the bones ache, forcing the osmodula to release its grip on the marrow. Then they begin drilling into femur, tibia, ribs. Suction tubes extract the organ that has been reshaping the skeleton from within. Every drill bit, every suction, every splinter of bone being removed, the aspirant feels all of it. Hours pass in agonizing eternity. The apothecaries systematically extract each augmented organ, the biscopeia from the muscles, leaving them deflated and weak, the haemastamen from the bloodstream, leaving the blood thin and poisoned, the Laramans organ from the chest, leaving them unable to clot. One by one, pieces of identity are removed and catalogued as resources. The aspirant hears the clinical discussion. Dispose of it, salvageable, may still be usable. They remove the catalepsian node from the aspirant's brain. The aspirant feels drilling into their skull, feels instruments inserting into the tissue of their brain itself. Something fundamental shifts inside their mind. They are no longer sure if they are awake or asleep, alive or dead, themselves or something else. The last thread of identity begins to dissolve. After an eternity, the extraction ends. The apothecaries seal the wounds crudely and efficiently, without care for appearance. They inject stimulants to keep the heart beating. They disconnect the restraints and leave. The aspirant remains on the table, still alive, though they should not be. The body is a patchwork of human and post-human, a half-finished transformation that will never be completed. A servitor enters and picks up the broken aspirant, cradling their mutilated body in augmented arms. It carries them through corridors, the aspirant's vision failing, eyes swollen and bloody from burst capillaries. All they can see are blurred shapes, harsh lights, sterile, white corridors. The servitor brings them to a new chamber lined with recovery pods, glass cylinders filled with nutrient fluid, each containing a failed aspirant. They are brought to one of the pods. The glass door seals. The servitor places the aspirant in the pod. The glass door seals. Tubes pierce their skin, feeding nutrients, filtering waste. Fluid begins to fill the chamber, rising to chin, nose, eyes. The aspirant panics, thrashing weakly, but then the fluid fills their lungs, and impossibly, they can breathe. It is not like air, thick, viscous, tasting of chemicals and blood. As they float there, they realize the horrifying truth. This is not recovery. This is storage. They are being kept alive because their body still has value. Flesh for grafts, blood for testing, organs for harvesting. They are a resource. Suspended in darkness, the aspirant begins to see things. Visions, hallucinations, memories that might not be real. They see themselves as a child running through ash fields beneath a red sun. They see the moment of selection, chaplains descending from the sky. They see their mother's face. They see the trials, the surgeries, the space marines they were supposed to become. But then the visions fade. Everything fades. They are left with nothing but the fluid and the darkness. But the words fade, the visions fade, everything fades. The aspirant is left with nothing, nothing but the fluid and the darkness and the knowledge that they will float here until their body is no longer useful. Until the chapter has taken everything. The last thread of consciousness accepts the truth. They are no longer human. They are no longer themselves. They are storage. They are inventory. They are nothing. Time has passed. You do not know how much. The glass door unseals with a hiss of pressurized air. You collapse forward, out of the pod, onto the cold metal floor, gasping for real air. Someone is standing over you, a chapter serf. He does not look at you with anything. He simply extends a hand. "Get up," he says. "You are a serf now." Property of the chapter. You rise. It takes everything you have. Your legs shake. Your vision swims. The serf leads you from the recovery chamber, through corridors you have never seen. You pass other serfs, men and women in simple robes, their faces blank, their eyes dead. Some of them are missing limbs replaced with crude bionics. Some of them are scarred, burned, broken. Were they aspirants too? Did they fail, just like you? You are brought to a chamber filled with machinery, massive cogitators, power generators, life support systems. You will maintain the generatorium, the overseer tells you. He is a serf like you, but older, more scarred. He hands you a toolkit. It is heavy. Your hands can barely hold it. Begin, the overseer says. You work. Hours blur into days, days into weeks. You clean components. You replace worn parts. You perform rituals of maintenance that you do not fully understand, whispering prayers to the machine spirits. It is mindless. It is exhausting. It is soul-crushing. But it is your life now. You think about the boy you were, the aspirant who believed he would become a space marine. That boy is dead. Sometimes you see space marines. They pass through the maintenance levels. All the serfs are required to kneel. You kneel. You avert your eyes. But sometimes, in the moment before you look away, you see them, and you hate them. But more than that, you hate yourself. You hate yourself for failing. Years pass. You grow older. Your body, already damaged by the failed augmentation, begins to deteriorate faster. You develop tumors. They are removed crudely by the chapter's apothecaries, not out of mercy, but because a dead serf is less useful. You are given crude augmetics, mechanical replacements for failing biological systems, just enough to keep you functional. You become more machine than man, piece by piece. You are becoming a servitor, not officially, not through brain wipe, but functionally. Is this all I am? Is this all I will ever be? No one answers. There is no one to answer. And you remain here, in the depths of the fortress monastery, maintaining the machines, keeping the lights on. You are part of the chapter in a way. You serve the Emperor in a way. You are useful in a way. But you are not a space marine. You endure until your body finally gives out, until the tumors become too numerous to remove, until your lungs fill with fluid, until you collapse beside the generatorium that has been your entire world for decades, your tools scattering across the floor. No one weeps for you. No one remembers your name. You are taken to the incinerators and burned, your ashes mixed with the ash of 1,000 other serfs and scattered into the void. And the chapter continues. The Space Marines continue their war. The fortress monastery continues to function, as if you had never existed at all. This is the fate of those who fail. This is the price of reaching for divinity and falling short. This is the reality behind the propaganda, the glory, the legends. For every space marine who ascends to legend, there are hundreds who are broken, harvested, discarded, used until there is nothing left to use. They do not appear in the histories. They do not have monuments built in their honor. They are not remembered, but they are necessary, because the Imperium is built on suffering, on sacrifice, on the broken bodies of those who tried and failed. And in the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, their suffering is eternal. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.